It does not take a rocket scientist to build a low-maintenance terrarium like this one. If you notice, the bulk of the growing medium is just plain sphagnum peat moss. I did not put layers of gravel, activated carbon, and all this stuff that most people use when they build terrariums. To me, those things are a big no-no, and here's why. First, what happens is when you put gravel or pebbles at the bottom, it collects water, and having too much water in there will create an abundant amount of plant growth, because you want nice dry conditions but not too dry that the plants dry out, but you want to slow their growth rate. So you don't want to fertilize, you don't want to have an area to collect too much water, you just don't want to water much at all, and you don't want to keep it in direct light. And also, if you notice, I have the plants grown in such a manner that they are not necessarily touching the glass, because as you have moisture building up, it can cause the leaves touching the glass to start rotting, and it can stick to the glass and create a nice incrustation and film that is extremely hard to get rid of. Okay, I turned the terrarium around, and I don't know if you can see or not, but there's like a hazy film on the glass. I initially had the terrarium in here where I did put gravel and activated carbon, etc., and it was just a big mess. Now, I stuck 4 tropical plants in here. Now, the big tall one with a stalk, after I planted it, you can see that the leaves at the bottom have died, and when you plant a plant in a new environment, it starts to change based on the nutrients it has. So far, the plant still looks healthy, it's just those leaves, I'm not too worried about it. But I still have a little space there which I need to add another plant. If you notice this fern over here, it has these nice big leaves, but after I stuck it in here, it grew some smaller leaves, so as you can see, a change in environment will cause the plant to change appearance a little bit. And then over here I have this other plant, which I do not really know what it is, but it looks cool. And I forgot to mention that plant over here with the dark green leaves as well. Now here is the plant that I want to stick in that empty spot, and when I do so, I'll show you how I planted the other plants as well. You can buy these tiny plants for around $3 or so at your local nursery, and you find the ones you think look cool that would make a nice fit for a terrarium. Okay, so I'm going to remove the lid off the terrarium, and I'm going to take the plant, and you see this area, I had sphagnum peat moss, and I'm actually going to just make an area to put that in. And this plant here, I want to move it a little closer. I'm trying not to get all this moss touching the glass as much and all the way up and, dirtying the rest of it, but you want to make a little cavity. And I'm going to take the plant with the dirt and stick it in there. And then you can level off the rest. And where did my nice tall plant go? Oh no. So as you can see, you want to be careful not to injure your other plants while doing it, but it should be fine, I hope. I'll pull it up a little bit. Maybe this plant was a little too large for the terrarium. Okay. So we're going to turn it, make the stand, and I'm trying to bring this plant a little closer. And that actually looks pretty nice. At least I think so. You may not. Okay, so let's review. You saw how you plant them. You take all the soil that's clumped in the tiny pot and you just mush it in between the sphagnum peat moss. And as you can see now, I have one plant, two plants, a third plant, and this nice tall one, a fourth, and one, two, three, and a fifth over here. And now you have a nice looking terrarium. I may eventually put something else down there, but let me show you how I water it. What I do is I take a squeeze bottle, with a long stem, and you'll take the lid, remove it, and you try not to squirt it on the glass, but you squirt it, oh, and I got it on the glass, but you squirt it in the soil, and you just do a light squirting. It's not really advised to get it on the leaves like I'm doing now. I'm just doing a quick watering. And you don't really give it too much water because, as I mentioned, you want to maintain a dry environment, but you don't want it too dry that they will die. Just dry enough to sustain them without them having profuse growth. So remember, no gravel at the bottom to collect water and create a reservoir which they can feed off and grow rapidly. No activated carbon. You don't really need that. And just use plain sphagnum peat moss, no fertilizing. Try to avoid the leaves from touching the glass, especially if they're wet. And keep your terrarium in an area with diffuse light, but not direct sunlight, so don't put it against a window where sun shines in. And that is the key to having a nice low maintenance terrarium. And let me show you once again. There you have it.